Robert.
Yo, what's shaking, AC? How you doing?
I gotta admit, I am probably like a lot of people feeling a little bit discombobulated.
A little bit what? Sometimes I say things I don't fully understand and make myself sound more photosynthesis.
I don't know if I should even ask you to explain that.
No, it's okay. I have no idea what you're talking about. So you're
Okay.
discombobulated. Talk to me. What's shaking?
Yeah, well, this is why I thought it'd be good for us to have a little conversation here. Uh, it's crazy this time that we're going through, super turbulent time. People are upset, they're fearful, they're confused. And I thought it might be interesting for us to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in our different worlds and maybe even share some ideas and thoughts how people can get through it. Because I know, at times like these, we need to figure out ways to stay positive, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Anywhere that I look, there's just a ton of different opinions on what's going on, right? There's people that are just losing their mind and freaking out. There's people that are taking it just with a grain of salt. There's people in the middle. There's, news, it jumps from one case to 4 cases, and they'll say more than doubled. Meanwhile, you've got places that have like hundreds of cases. So there's just so much chatter going on.
Yeah. And, just to acknowledge that, it is a serious situation. There are people that are being affected health-wise and all that. And I think, in our worlds, I think we're really, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure it applies to you as well, that I'm just seeing, holy smokes, the economic impact of this is quite, it is scary. And there's people that are losing jobs and all these franchises. I'm talking to my franchisor clients and others that are talking about the fear that their franchisees are going through, and with people that can't travel to see their loved ones. And so want to acknowledge it is a serious situation, but I think it might be interesting for us to try to shed some light on kind of how we're approaching it, and not trying to pretend we're experts on the matter by any means. But just thought I'd kind of hear a little bit more about like what it's like for you right now.
Well, for me, it's typically kind of business as usual. I mean, personally, I've got a ton of stuff to do. I just keep hammering away at it and cranking through it. I try not, I stay informed to understand what's going on, but I try not to let a lot of the stuff bog me down. For me, it's important to be cautious out of a sense of responsibility and not out of a sense of fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the kind of person that's going to try to spread the mindset of panic. But I'm also not going to downplay the seriousness, And I think I know that there are health effects on a lot of people around the world. But like you said, there's a big effect on businesses. And for somebody like yourself, myself, a lot of franchisors and franchisees, in addition to what we got to worry about with our family and our health and our friends, we also have to worry about what's happening with the business, right? The markets are changing. There's runs on things like hand sanitizer and toilet paper, and kids aren't going to school, that sort of stuff. So there's a massive impact here. So it's all over the place. For me, it's just about staying calm. It's all about mindset. You got to find the diamond in the rough and make the best of the situation.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit. I'll give you a couple examples of things I've seen, and I'd love to hear, if you have any thoughts on what you've seen out there, people making the best of the situation.
Okay, but before you do that, tell me what's going on with, how are you dealing with this?
Yeah, well, it's interesting from a geographical perspective. I am a little bit isolated. Can you see my map? Oh, maybe
I can.
Not, we'll see. But anyway, I'm on an island, like literally. So, geographically and the work that I do is a lot, like most of it's quite virtual, of course, conferences are being canceled and that sort of thing. But where I'm seeing it is certainly the uncertainty of my franchisor clients and how that's impacting them. They're still wanting to meet. What I'm finding is I feel like this is bringing people together, which we can talk about in a minute. But, I think for me, I definitely have had people cancel calls because they had to deal with this emergency.
Sure.
But I think for me, I'm probably feeling the effect less than a lot of people out there. So But I'm trying to do my best to be a supportive, voice for people that need it, bounce insights off of. And so on that note, when one of the things that I saw that I thought was really cool is a panel that I was aware of in Vancouver, that was speaking on marketing and franchising. The founder, Luke Allen it's called Our Town, the marketing agency, that was hosting it. They had this big plan to host, and at the last minute they had to cancel. And so they had all this food coming in, and, there, as much as you probably would have been like, yes, food.
I love to eat.
Yeah. Is there like a whole chicken I can eat? There's been a lot of people since that last rant we did, by the way, asking if you really ate a whole chicken.
I did. I really ate a whole chicken. Maybe we should live stream one day. I just watch Rob eat a chicken.
There you go. There you go. We'll do that. I don't know if people really want to see it, but okay. But maybe for proof. But anyway, so at Our Town, they of course brought the food to food shelters. And, that's the kind of example of, it's making the best of a situation. It's not necessarily saying, oh, great, we had to cancel this, or, any of the things that are going on that are being canceled. It's like, well, how can we sort of turn that around and find something in it? Another example is a fellow friend of yours as well, Chris Ramo from Happy Cat Hotel. Their business, their two revenue streams are both the boarding of the cats, but also the grooming. And they've been talking about increasing the focus on the grooming to make the business more stable for franchisees. And this is kind of forcing that to come to light, to deal with that and figure out how to make that part of the business model. So those are just two examples that I've seen of people making the best of the situation. So I don't know if you've seen anything or...
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, some cool stuff I saw was that I saw this elderly couple that, put on like house coats and put their feet up with a glass of wine, and on the TV put like a footage of a beach, so they're taking this time to get some relaxation. I
your
saw,
parents?
No. I saw on the,
wait, you just coughed.
No, I just cleared my throat.
Okay.
We're all good. We're all good.
Okay.
There was obviously Italy is under a lot of under quarantine, and everyone's in their house. But I just saw on the internet that what happened is all the people there opened up their windows, and across the street they're singing together. Can't remember what they're singing, whether it was the national anthem or something. But this is all in the capacity to raise your spirits, right? So that you're not freaking out and panicking. So like at Control V, as of the day of this recording, we are still open. We know that schools here in Ontario, at least, have been shut down. There's March break, and then for at least 2 weeks afterwards. So there's parents kind of freaking out. What do I do with my kids? Do I go to work? What's happening? So we have this opportunity here. Some of our locations are even extending the hours. We obviously have been cleaning everything to the maximum since we opened, because that's one of our prerogatives as a business.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in and say that I've bbeen there, and long before we were talking about coronavirus, I was impressed with, like, it was clear that, the cleanliness was high on the list of your, like, for your standards. And I felt good about that, because I do have a little bit of obsessive compulsiveness when it comes to hand washing and all that. And I remember noticing it and thinking, ooh, it's good. So if you're taking that even to another level, I can't imagine,
Yeah, there's so much you can do. You don't have to be somebody who just fosters the fear. Actually, just this morning, I got in touch with an organization called Food for Kids. And it turns out that there's a number of students, children, elementary school students, that come from families that don't have money for their lunch and for food. And they rely on the kids going to school so they can get nourishment. And now with the kids not at school, the parents don't have any food to give the kids. So I said, listen, I got a whole bunch of audiobooks I need to listen to. I got a car, pack my trunk, and I will drive around and deliver this stuff for you. And I'm trying to get a whole bunch of my team on board too, to do that sort of stuff. So there's tons of stuff to do. And I think as a business owner, whether you're a franchisee or a franchisor, this is an incredible opportunity to stress test the recession proofness of your business and how you can change it and pivot to make it more sustainable through times like these.
Exactly. And not that anybody wants to have to do that, you know, in this kind of way that is happening. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an opportunity to step back, not, you know, it's an opportunity, I guess, to step back and take a look at your business and find the gaps in it, right? And like you say, stress test it and put things in place to potentially be able to ride through these challenging times, you know, a little bit better. So let's get into a couple of tips. I've got a couple ideas of tips, I would say, for business leaders, and I think that rolls right into, you know, one of them is to maybe bring people on your team together and use this as an opportunity to and that may be virtually because there's that social distancing rule.
Yeah.
But you know, virtually or whatever, come together and get creative together and use it as an opportunity to potentially, you know, foster that and come up with creative ideas on ways and solutions to, you know, get through this.
Yeah, yeah, new revenue streams. I mean, that's what Good Company Productions is doing, the music production company that I'm a part of. We had to cancel some big events, some big, large gatherings. So what
Mhm.
we're doing now is we're reconvening and being like, okay, what other revenue streams is there possible? You know, should we be launching a live stream where we interview artists and do live performances, things like that? There's always opportunities, you know. With Control V, like I said, we're extending our hours, we're offering different promotions, and you know, part of it can be from a perspective of trying to sustain your business, but another part is to offer the community something to do and a place to go. You know, I always like to talk about Warren Buffett because that's the world I come from. You know, I come from buy side investment, and a lot of investment fund, like an investment fund, doesn't have staff. It doesn't have, you know, it has people managing the money, but the investment fund usually only has one prerogative, and that prerogative is to make money. There are some investment funds that have social causes and won't, you know, invest in oil or diamonds, but for the most part, it's to make money. And I'm not saying that as like a, you know, a right-wing capitalist, but that's just the nature of what an investment fund does. So when this happens in the market, the portfolio managers around these investment funds don't start freaking out and selling stuff. They go, right now, stuff is cheap, and a lot of it could be irrationally cheap. So if I double down and lower my adjusted cost base, then later when it sort of rebounds and we get over all this, I'll have a larger margin. So they're taking advantage of, well, maybe taking advantage is the wrong word, but
Making the
they're
best of
under.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great analogy and story to help people understand like ways to think. I think also communication is key. You know, you guys have done a great job of communicating with your franchisees and, you know, really all the stakeholders. Like, I think, you know, and being really clear within your communication so that people understand, you know, we have human nature has that we have that tendency to make stuff up when we don't get the communication and we
Yeah.
are a lot of control, and that's where the fear often comes from. So, you know, I think it's a franchisor's responsibility, obviously, to communicate to their franchisees, but to be very clear and transparent as possible. And I think it's okay to be real too, so that you're more believable. Like, not to pretend that you know everything. You know, like
Yeah.
a leader doesn't have to be, you know, this person that knows everything and only, you know, only knows everything is smarter. It's a person that, you know, can show vulnerability and but also give direction and help people through a
Yeah,
situation.
and in a time like this one specifically with COVID-19, if everything okay there with your ear?
Yeah.
Is it irritating?
Yeah.
Self high five.
All right.
So
Jackie.
I think you know, when you're communicating and telling people what to do, first of all, if you're making decisions that maybe aren't popular, you have to explain why you're doing that. And then the other thing is also how you communicate. You know, if you're saying, if you need a chat, I'm here for you, that's great. But if you preface that with like, in times like this, when it can be very frightening and very confusing, if you need a chat, I'm here, you're just contributing to the problem of the mindset that people aren't having the happiness, right? So
Hmm.
I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but maybe there's some things that you do to keep calm and cool.
Yeah, I just did it. I just breathed. You know, it's amazing when it comes to staying calm, how much just that, not like that human natural response can help. Just breathe, stop and think, slow down a little, you know,
Yep, of
before you react. So,
course.
well, I think you know, we've kind of we've shared a few thoughts and, you know, tips here. It's communication. It's It's trying to stay positive, avoid the negativity. Yeah, and hopefully.
Or you know what I do?
What?
I take a shower. I love to shower because that's when I get to sing. So if anyone's on Spotify, look up Bruski's shower mix and you will see all the songs that you've always wanted to sing to in public but are too embarrassed to. And you can just, rip them off in the shower and just, I love that.
Okay, there you go. Number one tip from this Rob.
Take a shower with some good music.
Yeah, it's all about the music. Yeah, but I mean, all kidding aside, it is really that like again goes back to like mindset and trying to stay positive, and that's an example of how. There you go. We just gave a really actionable.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So on that note, I think I might just go do that. So
what? Stay positive or take a shower?
Both.
Okay, good.
And breathe while I'm at it.
Yeah, listen to some music. Think about what's going on in your business. Make the best of it. How can you inspire other people?
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts again today. It's always awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to try to synchronize our outro here. You ready?
Okay, let's try this.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Go be awesome.
Awesome. Okay.